In Johannesburg, the Joburg Crisis Alliance is today set to receive a report from the working group that was set up by the president earlier this year. Katlego Sekgotho is in Braamfontein then, where those proceedings are set to take place. As you can tell, that kicking off then just behind her as well. So that working group is going to be important to kind of get a clear sense. In fact, we're going to stay with that story and head straight to her, because that Joburg Crisis Alliance, here's a little bit more on the story. They're today set to receive a report from the working group that was set up by President Cyril Ramaphosa, of course, who expressed deep concern at the time over the deteriorating state of Johannesburg. About 350 representatives from civic organizations, residents' associations, concerned residents, all of them expected to attend today's summit. Let's head on over to Katlego Sekgotho then, who joins us live from Wits campus, Wits University campus then, as well, for more details. The anticipation here, do we know what we can ultimately expect? I mean, the scathing remarks by President Cyril Ramaphosa probably live long in the ears and the minds of all those in attendance.
Certainly, Arabile. It's the 6th summit of this kind of the Joburg Crisis Alliance, and people have started to gather here, eagerly awaiting that report back from the Presidential Johannesburg Working Group. And it was launched by the President in trying to address the deterioration he witnessed himself in early March this year, and that was ahead of the G20, the start of the G20 meetings. And so this working group needs to report back to civic society organizations to say where the problems are and how they can be fixed. But Arabile, I am joined by attorney Mr. Hawthorne to give us more details. Can you just take us through why you're here today and some of the challenges you've recognized as someone from the Legal Resources Center?
Well, we're a public interest law firm, and we're particularly concerned about water provision for poor communities and what's happening in that regard. And of course, evictions of people with low incomes in the city. Those are our two main concerns, I think, and that brings us to these meetings.
Are you hoping to hear from the working group where the challenges lie, and also perhaps some sense of how these challenges can be resolved?
Well, we in fact are working with the Johannesburg Crisis Alliance and WaterCAN on possible litigation, a focused strategic case. It would concern two issues. The one is the fact that it seems that the tankers have taken over water provision. It's not, that cannot be a permanent solution, but it's becoming a permanent solution. Communities have been having water tankers for up to 10 years now, with no change. We were in an informal settlement last weekend. We walked past 5 JOJOs, of which 4 were empty. Very harsh conditions, very bewildering and harsh. So at that level, yes, and then the other aspect, of course, is budget and money. We seem to think that there is enough money. The question is it being properly spent? And we're looking at that issue as well, with the Johannesburg, as I say, Crisis Alliance and WaterCAN.
And I guess just a last one, attorney, going forward after today's meeting, you spoke about that litigation, but considering perhaps what might be presented today, will it then will it give you direction in terms of what happens following today's meeting?
Well, it may well. I have no idea what's going to be reported back to us. We will listen with great interest. But that's the reason we come to these meetings, is to make sure that we pick up the bits and pieces of information we need to go forward. And also to meet colleagues with similar concerns to us in different sectors of society. And the great thing about these Johannesburg Crisis Alliance meetings is that we do meet people from across the board who are interested in this problem. In these problems. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, Arabile, you've heard it there. The meeting here really looking at what kind of report back this presidential Johannesburg working group will make. And this will guide civic society organizations in terms of how they move forward. We heard there from the attorney talking about litigation against the city, looking at the fact that tankers are primarily being used in a number of communities and JoJo tanks as well. So this not being a permanent solution in terms of water supply to areas, and saying that there are some violations in the sense that people depend or only get their water supply from water tankers or JoJo tanks. So just like the attorney has mentioned, a number of groups here coming in to observe what kind of solutions will be presented, and we're talking about different areas: infrastructure development, our roads, electricity supply. And so that working group giving guidance in terms of where the problems are and how to move forward in dealing with them.